Have you ever felt like every conversation with a narcissist is a subtle yet relentless psychological attack? As if every word you say is twisted, manipulated, and weaponized to serve their inflated, insatiable ego? You don't just feel drained, you feel yourself slowly disappearing, piece by piece, in the cold grip of calculated manipulation. If that experience resonates with you, then you've come to the right place. Because today, we won't be talking about loud confrontations or heated arguments. Instead, I'm going to introduce you to a strategy so subtle, yet so powerful, that it can dismantle the narcissist's entire game: silence. In this video, we'll peel back the layers of deception, explore why silence sends a narcissist into panic, and more importantly, how you can wield it as a powerful counterattack in your journey to reclaim yourself. This isn't just a defense tactic. It's the first step toward breaking free from narcissistic abuse, rebuilding your boundaries, and awakening the strongest, clearest, and most liberated version of you. Your silence confuses the narcissist, a psychological breakdown. From a psychologist's perspective, there's one fundamental truth I need you to understand. A narcissist doesn't fear losing you, they fear losing control over you. And of all the defensive strategies available to you, nothing sends a narcissist into a spiral of confusion and instability quite like your silence. Unlike you, someone who seeks connection, resolution, and mutual understanding, a narcissist never engages in conflict to solve problems. To them, every disagreement is a performance, a power play where they assume the roles of victim, hero, or oppressor, depending on what benefits their manipulative agenda. But when you stop responding, when you step off their stage, you're not just interrupting the show, you're dismantling the very psychological framework they've carefully constructed. At first, they'll dismiss your silence as a petty tantrum. They'll assume you'll come crawling back with explanations, tears, or pleas for attention. But as time passes and your silence remains, no begging, no justification, the cracks begin to form in their inflated yet fragile ego. They panic because they can't manipulate what they can't predict. They begin to feel threatened on a deep, primal level. In clinical terms, your silence becomes a reflective void, a mirror, forcing them to confront their inner emptiness. And this isn't merely a survival tactic, it's the turning point where victims of narcissistic abuse reclaim agency, boundaries, and most importantly, the right to heal. When you understand the power of your silence, you'll see it not as avoidance, but as a declaration of freedom. Your silence, a razor-sharp weapon that strips a narcissist of power. Picture yourself standing face to face with a narcissist. Someone addicted to admiration, obsessed with control, and driven by a distorted ego that feeds off attention like oxygen. When you choose silence, you're not just ending a conversation. You're slamming shut the door to the energy source that sustains their grandiosity. To the narcissist, that ego is like a balloon kept afloat by your compliments, your fear, your emotional dependence. But make no mistake, they don't need these things to grow. They need them to mask a brutal truth, a constant gnawing void of insecurity, screaming beneath the surface. Psychologically speaking, narcissists are emotionally stunted, children trapped in adult bodies, manipulating empathy and kindness to turn you into their emotional oxygen tank. You become their supply of validation, admiration, and the illusion of superiority. But when you go silent, you pull the plug. You force them to face a truth they've spent their lives avoiding. They're not as important as they pretend to be. Your silence isn't the absence of words. It's a direct strike at the heart of their delusion of control. Never mistake silence for weakness. On the contrary, it's often more powerful than any criticism you could ever voice. Why? Because criticism, even harsh, still acknowledges their presence. Silence, however, is total rejection. It's the cold declaration you no longer exist in my world. And for a narcissist, nothing is more devastating than being ignored. They are like dethroned kings, flailing in rage and helplessness as the crowd that once praised them walks away. Their inflated ego deflates, and what's left is the hollow shell they've desperately tried to fill their entire lives. By refusing to engage, you're not just stripping the narcissist of power, you're protecting yourself. You conserve your emotional energy, your time, your peace, the very things they've been siphoning off through psychological games. Silence isn't running away, it's you drawing a line in the sand. It's how you reclaim control, build an unbreakable boundary, and declare to the world and to yourself that you are no longer their puppet, You are the one who decides who gets access to your inner world. If you're dealing with a narcissist or preparing yourself to guard against one, subscribe to my channel now. Together, we'll explore sharp, evidence-based psychological strategies, not just to survive, but to thrive in the face of narcissistic manipulation. Don't hesitate to leave a comment or a question. I'm here to support you on your journey toward power, clarity, and lasting peace. 3. Silence, the shield that protects your precious resources from the narcissist. Silence is not merely the absence of words. It's a powerful tool, an invisible shield that guards your most valuable resources from narcissists. These individuals, with their inflated egos and manipulative finesse, are always seeking to drain your time, energy, money, love, and empathy. Like master puppeteers, they pull on your emotional strings to draw you into the chaos they thrive in. But when you choose silence, you cut those strings. You say no without explanation, without guilt, and slowly begin to reclaim control over your life. Silence is not just self-preservation. It's a declaration that your life belongs to you, not to them. Narcissists operate like psychological parasites, feeding on your vitality through intricate emotional games. They may feign concern or ask seemingly sincere questions, but the true intention is to make you doubt yourself, stir up guilt, or pull you back into their toxic orbit. They create constant turbulence through unexpected blame, cryptic remarks, or the revival of old memories meant to destabilize you. Every time you respond, you unknowingly feed their appetite, allowing them to continue draining you physically, mentally, and emotionally. Silence is how you end that cycle. When you don't respond, don't argue, don't explain. You cut off the supply they rely on. They cannot manipulate someone who refuses to play. Silence gives you the space to breathe, to heal, and to restore what was lost. Imagine your emotional cup, once emptied by the narcissist, now slowly being refilled. With every moment you resist their chaos, you preserve a piece of your energy, your dignity. You regain the pace of your own life, no longer racing to meet their endless, irrational demands. You gain the strength to say no, a short but powerful word, without feeling pressured to justify yourself. Silence not only protects you, it realigns your resources toward what truly matters: your work, your family, your friends, or simply yourself. If you're not yet able to leave a narcissistic relationship, maybe because of children, finances, or other constraints, make a plan. Silence can still be your weapon in the meantime. Cut off communication, block the flying monkeys, those they use to spy or manipulate you. Prepare for the day you break free. Once you recognize that the relationship is toxic, there's no good reason to stay. Narcissists rarely change, and staying only deepens your wounds. 4. Silence, a powerful pause for reflection in the face of narcissism. In a relationship with a narcissist, silence is far more than avoidance or mere disengagement. It's a sharp psychological weapon that gives you control within the web of manipulation. As a psychologist deeply familiar with narcissistic behavior, I can assure you, one of silence's greatest powers lies in its ability to give you the space to reflect. Dr. Susan David, a renowned psychologist, once said, "Emotions are data, not directives." That quote serves as a compass. Silence becomes the golden pause that allows you to tune into your inner world, to process emotional turbulence with intention instead of reacting impulsively, the exact trap narcissists lay for you. Think of silence as a powerful pause button in the middle of a high-stakes drama. It lets you step out of the fog the narcissist is desperately trying to keep you lost in. This isn't a retreat, it's a strategic move, a chance to observe, analyze, and respond from logic rather than being swept away by emotional chaos. Psychological research has proven that silence shifts the brain from reactive emotional states to calm, rational thinking, a vital turning point to avoid getting caught in their emotional baiting tactics. Narcissists provoke you with pointless arguments, evoke painful memories, or push you into outbursts of anger, all to reinforce their emotional grip. But when you remain silent, you not only refuse to play their game, you open up a space for deep reflection. This is when you ask yourself, what's really going on? What do I need to protect myself? Silence returns the tempo to your control. It stops the narcissist from dictating the narrative. More importantly, it forces them to face the gaping emptiness within themselves, a void they constantly try to fill with your attention. So remember, silence is not just a shield, it is also a moment of power, a space where you regain the upper hand step by step in the psychological battle against narcissistic abuse. 5, your silence exposes the true face of the narcissist. Your silence is not a quiet retreat or a surrender to the calculated antics of the narcissist. On the contrary, it is a sharp weapon, a transparent mirror that clearly reflects the fake facade they have painstakingly built and concealed. When you choose to no longer participate in the plays they direct, no longer play the reluctant audience to their ridiculous and flamboyant performances, you inadvertently push them into a dark corner, a place where they are forced to confront themselves. Narcissists, those who thrive on the breath of admiration and the gaze of others, cannot endure the void your silence creates. They rely on you as a source of fuel to feed their inflated yet fragile ego. When you cut off that supply, they plunge into a desperate hunger, and it is within this hunger that their true nature begins to emerge. Uncontrolled behaviors surface, deep-seated insecurities are laid bare, and rage explodes as no one remains to bow to their manipulation. The distorted ego, constructed from lies and illusions, collapses piece by piece, revealing the ugliest truths. Boundless selfishness, a pathological thirst for power, and the weakness they have always denied. In the quiet space you establish, you do more than just build a wall to shield yourself from toxic words and cunning manipulations. You also transform into a stage light, shining directly onto their narcissistic behaviors. By refusing to react or play along in their drama, you strip them of the foundation they need to maintain their disguise. The outcome? Their true face is laid bare, not only to you, but also to those around them. People, once captivated by their flawless exterior, begin to see the reality, a hollow individual dependent on others' recognition to exist. Your silence is not an act of avoidance or frailty. It is a bold declaration of the inner strength you have reclaimed. You are no longer a puppet dancing to the narcissist's tune, no longer reliant on praise or validation from the unworthy to recognize your own value. Instead, you stand tall, free and untouchable, wielding the ultimate power, mastery over your own soul and spirit. While the narcissist flounders in their emptiness, you radiate a quiet strength, a power they can never grasp. Your silence serves not only as your shield, but also as an invisible blade, slicing through the narcissist's perfect veneer to expose the truth they dread most. And in this act of stillness, you prove yourself the victor, not with words, but through the unwavering, potent force of your presence. 6, the sixth reason, silence, a terrifying mirror in the narcissist's chaotic world. In the stormy and fractured inner world of a narcissist, silence and peace are not just unwelcome, they are perceived as existential threats. These still moments act as terrifying mirrors, reflecting back the chaos, emptiness, and unresolved wounds that they desperately try to avoid confronting. While you may cherish silence as a space for healing and clarity, for the narcissist, it's a haunting confrontation with the parts of themselves they refuse to acknowledge, even to themselves. To understand this, imagine the narcissist as a small, fragile boat, adrift on a stormy ocean. Rather than seeking calm waters, they hunt for storms, external conflicts, and emotional upheaval to distract themselves from the roaring waves within. Every argument, every dramatic confrontation, every manipulative guilt trip becomes a numbing agent, an emotional sedative that keeps their inner demons at bay. They need the chaos outside to silence the insecurity within. This is the destructive cycle they cannot escape. This is why narcissists often spark conflict out of thin air. They don't wait for real issues to arise, a minor mistake from your past, a single offhand comment, even a harmless glance they interpret as disrespect. Any of these can become fuel for a manufactured emotional war. And once the conflict begins, you're pulled into a psychological chess game. Long-winded accusations, calculated questions, guilt trips disguised as concerns. All of it is designed to ensnare you in their drama. And here's the trap. You feel compelled to explain, defend, seek understanding or harmony, but nothing you say will ever be enough because truth and resolution were never the goal. The real objective is to satisfy their thirst for control, to feed the ego with your emotional reactions. Whether you cry, shout, or try to reason with them, every response is a form of attention and therefore fuel. Most disturbingly, these conflicts often erupt at the most inconvenient, vulnerable moments on a relaxing weekend, during a family dinner, or right before a long-awaited vacation. That's not a coincidence. Narcissists can't bear tranquility because it forces them into stillness. And in that stillness, they are left alone with their truth. So instead, they manufacture chaos to regain the illusion of dominance. The result? You're left exhausted, mentally, emotionally, even physically drained. You begin to question yourself, wondering what you did wrong, why the peace you crave always turns into conflict. But here's the truth you need to hear. You are not the cause of the storm. The chaos is theirs. It is born from their unresolved insecurity, fear, and a warped ego that cannot survive without conflict. A narcissist needs disorder to feel alive because it masks the weakness they carry deep inside. But ironically, the more they stir the storm, the more they expose their inner void. And when you finally see this pattern for what it is, you gain a powerful realization. Your refusal to engage, the choice to remain silent and protect your peace, is not weakness, it is strength. It is your escape. Silence then becomes your boundary. It becomes your resistance. It becomes the one thing the narcissist cannot control. And in a world where they thrive on reaction, silence is a terrifying reminder that their power over you is slipping. So when the storm rages, do not shout into the wind. Stand still, stay silent, and walk away. That is how you reclaim your peace and leave the narcissist to face the storm they can no longer outrun. Your silence is not a sign of submission, but a powerful counterstrike. It is not merely a fortress safeguarding your inner peace, but also a mirror reflecting the fragility and deceit of the narcissist. When you choose silence, you sever the fuel they crave, attention, leaving them to wrestle with the void they have created. In that stillness, you not only preserve your dignity, but also assert your sovereignty over your own life. They may scream, but your silence echoes louder, a testament that you are no longer prey in their game. You are the holder of truth. And in that truth, you find freedom.